Welcome back to the Bryan Devore Connection. I'm your host, Bryan Devore. The word crisis is very common in a lot of the work I do with seniors and their families who are looking to move a loved one into a senior living community. People are waiting too long, and then it becomes a crisis situation and they don't know what to do. Well, here to talk to us about what to do in that kind of situation and what not to do in that kind of situation is my friend Liz Faraimo. Liz, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Bryan?
Good. And Liz, you're with Care Excellence Team, and you're the owner.
I am the owner, yes.
Care Excellence Team. I wanted you to come talk about your story, how you got into the world of what you do, working with seniors, and the three biggest mistakes that people can make when they are in crisis mode. There's probably more than that, but the three most important ones. So, Liz, tell us about how you started in this business.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. So my journey really started from being a caregiver at a very young age. I was 27 when I first got the phone call that my father was no longer fit to live on his own. He was admitted in the hospital, and they said that I needed to make some big life-changing decisions for him on a very short period of time with limited information. He lived in a different state at the time, and I, of course, at 27 was just really kickstarting my life, right? I just got married. I had my first child. I was expecting another. And my career was taking off, so a lot of different things happening in my life all at the same time. So very much a crisis at that point. And that really kickstarted my journey of 13 years as being a caregiver for my father. And over the course of 13 years, we did a lot of different things. We brought him home. We tried home care as his care needs changed. We put him in an assisted living community that we thought was a fit at the time. We then had to move him to a boarding care. We've tried a skilled nursing facility. We brought him home again. So, I mean, for a big time period, we did a lot of different things as a family. And why we had to do so many different things, because I was a typical family who just didn't know what I was doing, right? Every time a new crisis arose, we just kind of made a decision on the go. And I didn't really know what I was doing at each segment and season. And so at the same time, I was thriving in my corporate career, but I really landed at a point in my life where I was saying I really wanted to start my own business. I was in sales and operations for many years, and I was like, wow, what am I going to do? But I kept coming back to this thing of what I was experiencing with my father, and I just was like, there has to be something better. There are so many other families going through this, and there has to be more resources, more education, someone that could help them through the process. I started to do some research, and I realized there were placement agencies out there. Interestingly enough, I didn't know that they existed while I was on this 13-year journey. And even today, we're finding now that I'm in the business, many people don't know about this service. But that was really what made me want to get into this industry. And so in 2018, I decided to take a huge leap of faith, and I left my corporate career and started Care Excellence Team.
I'm sure you're glad you did that. And you said a lot of things in there that resonate with me. Number one, lack of knowledge of what services are out there. And you're in the sandwich generation. When you started taking over the care of your dad, you are the sandwich generation. Yeah. You have your father you're caring for, your new family you're caring for, and now you're thrust in between and trying to figure it all out. Yeah. And not knowing resources. Why would you know? There's no reason for you to have known that because you weren't in that situation before.
Right.
And so it's all about educating people. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this interview is to get it out there, to educate people on what's available. And you were doing it during crisis mode.
Yes.
And that's what most people find themselves in because they don't have the knowledge and maybe their loved ones haven't prepared, for the whole
right.
situation. And now it's like, boom, it's here, now what? So so there's three, we kind of talked about three most important critical mistakes that people make in that crisis mode. What's the first one?
Yeah, the first one, and this was actually a decision we made in the middle of a crisis that really we probably should have reconsidered. And the first was choosing a community or an assisted living community that was just easy, right? I found one that was off the side of the freeway. They had a sign. It was near my house. I walked in the door and I met with the person, and they really met the budget. They said they could care for my father. It was convenient, and I just said yes. And before I knew it, we were moving him in. where that really came to become an issue was 6 months later, we realized it really wasn't the right fit for him, right? And it was a lot of different factors, not necessarily the level of care, but there were so many things about my father where he didn't really fit that environment. And if I had taken some time to look at other options, to look at different areas, even be willing to drive. And that's one of the things that I encourage my clients today is like, we can't just make a decision on one. You have to at least look at 3 locations, different layouts, different services, so that you really can see and envision your loved one being here and factor in all of the full picture of your goals as a family for them. So that's definitely one of the big mistakes that I think a lot of families make today is they just pick what's easy and what's convenient because they're in a crisis.
Right.
So
And that's, it's kind of similar as if I'm showing a new a client homes to buy. I'm not going to just want to show them one home. I want to show them maybe 3 or 4 so they get a better picture. They may wind up at the first one, and a client you're working with may wind up at the first community you show them.
Yes.
And one of the benefits of working with a professional, and we'll talk about this in a moment, of course, is that you weed through all that. But before we get to there, the second most critical mistake that people make is kind of aligned with what you're talking about in doing research is talking to the people who are at the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not a common practice that people, when they're looking and touring communities, to ask to meet everyone on staff, right? And I don't mean all of the caregivers, but the primary people who you'll be working with once your loved one moves in. You'll meet a very great marketing or sales director who will take you through the entire process of getting your loved one in the door, but you have a director of nursing, you have an executive director who are key individuals who you'll have to work with as your loved one transitions. And the truth of it is that this is a transition, right? There are all types of different things that are going to come up. Good things are going to be hard conversations that are going to need to be had. So I always encourage my clients today, like, meet everybody before you fully commit, because you want to know the personalities. You want to feel like you have good energy with them so that if problems do arise, you know that you can arrive to a solution for your loved one and that you're not in a situation where you'll have to move them again just because the personalities don't click or you don't feel like you're getting what you need.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be super important because in a lot of cases, if someone were to go on their own without a professional, they may only meet the sales director or the marketing director, maybe asked to talk to the chef. But there may be lots of situations where they're not talking to the head of nursing or exploring further and talking to the different people who are going to be the hands-on people with your loved ones. Seems to make a lot of sense. So the third critical mistake, kind of leading up to all of this, is
not working with the placement professional. And when I say placement professional, there's a lot of different options out there, but I would really encourage that people work with someone who is local and hands-on through the experience. And what does that mean to be hands-on, right? So our services, for example, we really meet the family where they are. We really come and commit to working alongside them through the process. I personally know how hard, emotional it can be. But the benefit of doing that is, one, we save them time, we save them money, and we eliminate a lot of stress that's unnecessary through the process. Working with someone who's local, they should be able to tour with you, to really hold your hand through the entire process so that they really understand all the dynamics of your family, the care needs for your loved one, as well as your overall goals as a family. And, I'll give you an example. There was a family that I had toured with in person, and, daughter's very emotional. It's a big decision to make. Her dad doesn't want to go, but they have to make this decision for his safety. And we're in one of the communities, and the apartment that they had available happened to be really far down the hallway and from the elevator, and he couldn't walk very far with his walker. And so that little detail and being able to identify that allowed us to ask a different question on the tour. Do you have another apartment that's closer to the elevator or something that's on the first floor? His daughter would have never thought of that. And she says, gosh, I'm so glad you said that because my dad would never have made it down to dinner, So that those little intricate details that really make a difference for people when they make that move, because you want it to be convenient and easy for your loved one once they make that move into the community. We check with licensing. We do this on a daily basis. We are professionals. We see all of the different communities. So you should have someone who's well educated and can help you navigate this very complex process. And that's why it's a big mistake not to use a local hands-on placement professional.
Right. And maybe the best part is it doesn't cost the family anything because you're compensated by the communities that they're moving into, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So we are no cost service to the family because it is very costly to make this move. And so it's nice to have someone advocating for you, working alongside you, and not having to incur that additional cost to have our time.
Great. Liz, thank you very much for sharing your story and why you got into the placement profession. And I think, as everyone can see, why Liz is so passionate about what she does. Give her a call. Her information is on the screen, her website, and so forth. Liz Faraimo, Care Excellence Team, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you, Brian. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.